Welcome to the Sit Down with Stephen Taylor. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today, I have to choose my words correctly because I've got a lawyer in the studio. Madri Steenkamp, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So, is it a lawyer? Is it an attorney? Is it a solicitor? What? All of the above?
All of the above, but in South Africa we call them attorneys. In the UK and in Australia and New Zealand, I think they're called solicitors.
Okay, which is a weird word, eh? When you hear that, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So we don't say lawyer here in South Africa, we do as well?
They do sometimes, but the correct term is attorney.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
It just sounds so much like more stronger, I don't know, like attorney. But it's the same thing, really. You studied forever, right?
No, not. It's only a 4 years degree.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is it? Oh, I thought it was longer.
No.
Oh, so it's shorter than becoming a doctor?
Yes, it is shorter, but then you still have to, after you finished with your 4 years, or you can also do a postgrad law, then you will do your BC, your BA, or your BCom law, then you would have 3 years and additional 2 years for your postgrad, so then it makes it 5 years.
Okay.
But since it was always, it used to be that you have to have an undergrad and then a postgrad for LLB, but they've changed it about 20 years ago that you can do a 4 years LLB.
Oh, wow.
But then when you do your 4 years, you still need to do your articles, which is 2 years. Unless you do law school, then they cut it down to a year, full-time law school. And then you have to write 4 board exams.
So are you a candidate by that time, after the 4 years?
After the 4 years, you start, when you do your articles, then you're a candidate attorney, yes.
So you're still going to do an extra year after the 4 years?
2 years, yeah.
Yeah,
2 years articles, or if you do full-time law school for a year, then you get condemnation for 1 year of your articles.
Okay, and actually working at a law firm, that doesn't count? That's not the same?
No, you have to be registered at the
right.
Legal Practice Council as a candidate attorney and enter into the contract with your principal.
Okay, so did you go to the law school?
I did not go to law school.
Oh, so you did the articles?
I did my articles, yes.
Can you do everything via correspondence?
Yes, you can. UNISA has actually got a very good law program. I studied through UNISA.
Okay.
I still did my articles under the Attorneys Act, which made provision that you can do your articles while studying for your LLB.
Oh, wow.
So that is the main reason why I did not do law school, because I was still studying full-time for my LLB while doing my articles.
Okay, so take us back to your younger days. Where were you born?
I was born in a town in the Eastern Cape called Uitenhage.
Oh, okay, yes. I've heard of that, yeah.
Small town. I never stayed there. That was just the hospital closest, I think. And then I grew up in Jeffreys Bay, Somerset East.
Okay. Did you surf? No.
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you grew up in Jeffreys, then you
kind of, it's like
you
the
have
life,
to.
right?
I feel that in Tableview you have to do that kite surfing.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I saw the people yesterday, they're all out.
I've never tried that, I'd love to. Surfing as well, always when I get on the board, I fall off.
It takes a while
time.
to get the hang of it, and the balance.
So you can do it still? Have you tried recently? No.
About a year and a half ago, I actually bought at a second-hand store. I saw that like old boards there for next to nothing, so I bought them for me and my son. So we've been going out a few times, and no, I can't do it anymore.
Oh, right.
It's not like riding a bicycle.
No, it's not. Okay. So.
But it's big fun though, still.
Okay, and you went to school in?
I went to school in Uitenhage though. I went to boarding school, yes.
Oh, wow. Was that tough?
No.
Because you always hear like boarding school, it's like the people think, oh, you're going to prison. You know, it's not the same, right? It is actually, or is it?
It is actually like prison, but you get to spend the whole day in school and after school with your best friends, so it's got its benefits. And
so you
I was lucky.
Do school and live there?
Yes,
oh, wow.
So I was very lucky that my friends, and it's been still my friends, we were roommates, and that was just a bond that after we still, after all these years, we still share that very strong bond of friendship.
That's good, I like that.
Yeah,
well, you spend so much time together, you build that relationship, that bond, yeah. And then growing up, Did you ever think that you'd become a lawyer? Was it something that you were aspiring to?
Well, when I was about 8 or 9, I did it when we had an essay, Wat wil jy word as jy groot is? And I wanted to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yes.
From that age already?
Yes, I've always wanted. Life took a few turns, and I only studied law later in life. But essentially, yes, that was the only thing that I've ever wanted to be.
And what was your first job?
My first job.
Or the job that you can remember was that you were doing when you were younger, yeah.
My first job, I think I was a waitress in the Spur.
Oh, really?
I think all of us have been.
No, luckily enough, I never was a waiter. Eh? I don't know how I missed that. I just sidestepped that and started radio when I was 15, 16, so I was lucky.
Yeah.
But I can always try it. I don't know, you can give me some tips. Eh?
I think everyone I know, when you're about 15, when we grew up, that was basically the only thing that you could do, is either waiter or work in a shop.
Yes.
Like a clothing shop type.
Was it tough being a waiter? Do you have sympathy for those that are doing it every day?
Yes, I do. I can't. It's a nice. I quite enjoy it because it's nice meeting new people, and I waited most of high school, all through varsity. The restaurants, obviously, as I got older, got better restaurants, more classy, high-end restaurants.
But people obviously have bad days, and then they want to take it out on the waiter, which is not cool, right?
Yes, they do sometimes. I had the one day a woman that wasn't happy with her. She sent her food back, I think, about 3 times.
Jeez.
And there was literally nothing wrong with the food.
Yeah.
Because it was apparently cold. And it literally came off the grill on a plate.
Jeez. And what do you do in that situation? You must just smile and say, okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
And then you can do, right? Sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it was after the 3rd time, I was almost in tears, and my manager just walked up to her with the food. And it was quite a funny situation. He put the plate in front of her, took his finger, pressed it into the steak and said, "It's not cold."
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was quite a funny situation.
Yeah, but sadly in life you do get difficult people like that. It's actually sad.
No, it's just kind of straightforward abusive as well.
Yeah, that's not cool, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward to you becoming an attorney. When did you actually qualify?
I qualified about 4 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been working at a law firm since 2013. So I started off when I started studying, I started off as a secretary for one of the directors. And then...
Is that how you start?
That's how I started.
Oh,
that's
really?
not normally how. And then I became an article clerk the next year. And I did my articles. And then I qualified, and I stayed at the same firm for about a year and a half, almost 2 years after that as a professional assistant. Okay. And then I started my own firm.
In PE?
In PE, yes.
Okay. So is that the good thing about being an attorney? You can open your own... Is there different grades of levels of attorney or not? They're all the same?
They're all basically the same. It is on experience.
Okay.
So if you're young, if you start off after you get your degree, you start your articles, you know nothing.
Yeah.
Like Jon Snow, you know nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's all practical. The practical experience is, you know the theory, but you have to the
learn on the job.
To appear in court. University don't prepare you for court, and
so you shadow people, attorneys in court.
Yes, and you start off when you're a candidate. You start to appear in magistrate court, which you would go with your principal. You start off with the easy things first, how to do a postponement.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in your second year of articles, you can appear in the regional court. Then you would do unopposed divorces, more simple matters. Before they progress you.
So divorce is simple.
No, you get uncontested ones.
No, I know.
So it progresses with the complexity of the matters. But I do find that you can, when you're in varsity, you can take a subject, moot court, which prepares you for argument. I've judged a few moot courts in PE.
Okay.
which prepares you for because then they have the proper court procedures and they give you a scenario and you have to argue the matter in court. So that helps as well.
Yeah, no, it does. So gender-based violence in South Africa is sadly something which gets talked about so many times, and every year the same thing. We have 16 days of activism. It comes, it goes. We hear the same things. This person's been attacked. This person's been murdered. I mean, if I go back, I think about, easily 8 years ago, I remember having this conversation with Annie Lennox with the Eurythmics. I interviewed her, and we were talking about the same thing, gender-based violence, children being abused, and nothing changes. I mean, it's just so sad. But I mean, I think educating people on what they can and can't do is important. So if you are in an abusive relationship or being harassed or anything like that, first place to do is, I know that there's an harassment order, is there?
Yes.
But that doesn't hold much weight.
The Protection Against Harassment, that would act that provides for a protection order. It is similar to a domestic violence protection order in terms of the Domestic Violence Act, except that you will use a harassment or process when it's not family or not someone that you're in a relationship with.
Okay. So it's still a court order? It's
still a court order. It is, they've changed the act. The function of the act is where there used to only be the Domestic Violence Act.
Yeah.
And that only protects a certain class of people.
Yes.
That you have to basically be in a domestic relationship. So
yes.
either live together, family member, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, married, parents, children. The the Protection Against Harassment Act was promulgated to fill the gap in the protection against domestic violence, to include people not in.
So it can be a work colleague or someone that you don't even know that's harassing you. Okay.
The nice thing about the Harassment Act that it gives powers to say the police to approach cell phone companies to get the phone records. For instance, if you have a stalker that phones you from an unknown number, they, in terms of the Harassment Act, that you can trace that number, so that they can find out who. Okay. There's a form that you fill in, then they can trace that number.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yes.
So, the protection order for domestic violence is something that's totally different. If somebody is being abused or something like that in a relationship that's not going well, that they are feeling that they want to get out of it, they need to be protected. What should they do in terms of applying for a protection order? You
would go to your nearest magistrate's court. All the magistrate's courts, they do have domestic violence sections. So you would go for harassment, you will go to the same section. The clerks are well trained. They would help you fill in the forms. It's a standard form that you fill in together with a little affidavit. I suggest that when you fill in the affidavit, if the person, a lot of verbal abuse would be swearing at you and maybe pushing you around, and sometimes it's not nice things to repeat, but to put your version forward. If you put in all the swear words, even if it's something that not repeatable, you put in, if he said.
It's a true reflection of what happened.
It's a true reflection. Because
it makes your case stronger.
The initial order would be the interim order or the notice to show cause. They take that application to the magistrate, so you do not see the magistrate at that stage. The magistrate will read through the documents. If you say that, he sweared at me, that doesn't sound, he just swore at me. But if you have a list of words that he said, and that makes it more information for the magistrate to make his or her decision. And also domestic violence, one of the elements would be continuous abuse. So the court will not in most likeliness not grant an interim order if you have a happy relationship.
It's a once-off,
It's a once-off. You had a fight and he now swore at you, and then they most likely will only issue a notice to show cause. but I find also sometimes the courts are not willing to give an interim order unless there is serious abuse.
Yeah. But also, what people can do is that they can also go to the police station and open a domestic violence case as well.
Yes, you can, but the police will most likely also refer you back to the magistrate court to get that order.
Yeah.
I think with the police, they will more likely act on something if there's physical abuse, if there's assault as well, than just emotional and verbal abuse. And we all know that emotional and verbal abuse, intimidation,
There's still abuse.
it's abuse.
But can I tell you something that really upsets me in this country is that our justice system is great, but if I don't like you, so I'm in a relationship with you, I don't like you, as a woman, I'm saying, I go to the police station, open a case, say that you smacking me or hitting me or whatever, pushed me. I spent a weekend in jail and I never touched anybody.
Yes, that is the reality that there is, and it makes me very, very cross because I have to deal with a lot of gender-based violence.
Yeah.
And protection orders, and this I'm a big advocate for the cause of gender, to stop gender-based violence. And I have dealt with matters before where there was a girl that maybe she's not happy with it, and then they lay false charges.
Yeah.
And this somehow I feel that it numbs the police a bit, because you've got 2 or 3 false people that's now upset and lay false cases, and then you have come someone that's really in need, and they also
think, oh, here we go again.
Here we go again. And I find that that's maybe the issue in court as well, because I have sat in domestic violence court where I listened to matters prior to mine, and I'm thinking by myself, guys, you're wasting the time of the court. There's people that really need.
Yeah. But I know that I've seen at my local police station, people go and open a case. Their car was stolen. They end up finding out the police that the car wasn't stolen. They end up opening a perjury case. That person gets arrested. So it can happen like that as well.
Yes.
It's rare, but it can happen.
It's difficult with the domestic violence, especially with verbal abuse.
Yeah, because you can't really.
Yeah, because it is kind of a he said, she said as well. And also my perception of verbal abuse might be different from yours.
Exactly. Yeah.
I might just, if you tell me oh, you stupid, or what's wrong with your hair type of thing, and I would just, doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But you might be more sensitive about it, and it will greatly upset you. So that there's a thin line with that. But I mean, with more serious rape and physical abuse.
So 16 days of activism is important. We should be talking about it. We should be talking about gender-based violence every day. We should be protecting women and children, but also men as well that are abused. That also gets not spoken about a lot either.
I find that there is, a lot of the time, it's always the men that abuse, but it's not always. There is women that are the abusers as well. And also not even just with verbal and emotional abuse.
No, it can be physical as well.
There are a few women they will physical abuse, but I also think in the culture, in everyone's culture, saying for a man to stand up to say, but I got beat up by a woman.
I know.
They don't talk about it.
But the sad thing is, I went to the police station, I said I'm being assaulted by my partner at that time, and they said to me, oh, and? I says, can you make a note, please, in the domestic violence register to say that this is happening, so that and they said, okay, whatever. She went along and said the same thing about me. They arrested me. I'm like, but how are you guys operating, Anyway, that's the miscommunication that's going on. And when, as you say, when there are real stories, when people are really getting attacked or abused or possibly even killed, as you say, police and the justice system are just numb to the fact of so much false claims.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do tend to be numbed off a bit.
Yeah.
But I think that gender-based violence is something that that should be more
Yes.
addressed in this country, because it gets said, no, we need to combat gender-based violence, but it's just talk, and there's no action, no follow-through on
That's
any
right.
of the
That's
the
right.
promises.
We need 16 days of activism every day, actually. There should be a
Yes.
campaign every day, a non-stop campaign, but also to educate people about the rights and wrongs, which we don't have, because we just say it's wrong, don't do it, and then, but you don't, alcohol comes into play, drugs, many factors that come into play that we don't talk about, so it must start from school level, and to educate people. I think we need to do more of that.
I think also we need to teach our children, especially our boys, do not rape a girl.
That's right.
If a no means no, and not maybe or later, it means no.
Yes.
So we should educate our boys to do this, and we should educate our boys not to hit a woman.
Yes.
And well, the girls as well. But it is a big issue, and I think it starts with parents to teach their children
Absolutely.
the right ways.
Yes. Well, bringing up a boy, I'm definitely going to teach him right and wrong, and that like respecting and honoring a woman is that he must do that all the time, no matter if she's wrong, which is probably always the case. But but respect and honor is important every day. So there we go. No, I'm only teasing. But Madri Steenkamp from Steenkamp Abrams Incorporated Attorneys, based in Tableview, 47 Bloberg Road. So you can check that out. And obviously we'll put those details on the screen. But thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. I better not go over time because you'll charge me then as an attorney. Eh? But Madri, thank you so much. And we'll do more of this. I think it's important to educate people about their rights and what they should and shouldn't be doing. So thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Madri Steenkamp, Steenkamp Abrams Incorporated Attorneys, based in, they've got an office in Mitchell's Plain and Tableview in Cape Town. But if you need legal advice, I mean, you can contact them from anywhere. They will assist you and help you out. Another episode of the Sit Down with Stephen Taylor. Interact at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you to Clinton, Drew, Puppy, and Corner behind the scenes, working tirelessly to make sure that I look good. Thank you, guys. God bless. Take care.